I have some offcuts of ash from making a fire guard and an offcut of spalted beech from making a height chart. So I decided to use these up. I would make a pair of bedside tables for our bedroom. There was a huge crack in the beech, so it wasn't all usable, but I only want to make some really small bedside tables, the size for a phone or a drink. I cut the slab with my track saw into two similarly sized pieces. These are going to be a pair, but not identical due to the slab being live edge. To clean up the edges, I ran the board through the surface planer a couple of times. I removed the bark from the edges using a chisel, and then I turned my attention to the bases. I'm using ash for this because I had some good sized offcuts which I could mill on my planer thicknesser, rip down on the bandsaw and get them to the size required. I made 8 pieces which will be the legs and 8 pieces which will be the aprons or skirts. You can see the rough design here laid out on the workbench. I decided to make the apron slightly wider than I was going to, as these tables are very low and when viewed from above the skirt will appear smaller. I sanded all these pieces with 120 grit sandpaper to get rid of any bandsaw marks and then get them ready for staining later. I'm assembling the bases using glue and pocket holes. I drilled each of the skirt pieces with my pocket hole jig and then I could glue and screw these together. To set the skirts back from the legs, I used a shim to position these when screwing them to the legs. With these bases being so small, it was a little tricky to get the screws in, but with the help of some clamps and a 90-degree drilling attachment for my drill, I got them all together. I then moved on to staining the bases, just as my memory card filled up without me realising. But because this is such a satisfying process, I had to film a little bit with an offcut. With the bases now basically complete, I could work on finishing the tops. I ran these through the planer to get a perfectly flat surface. There were some areas on the sides that were a little bit soft due to the spalting, so I coated these areas in super glue and then sanded them down. I sanded down the rest of the tops and then they were ready for finish. I'm using my wax oil for this, and like I mentioned in the previous video, I'm currently trying to perfect the recipe for this, and then I'm going to be making it available for sale. When that does happen, I'll add a link in the description, so if it is for sale, then there'll be a link below. This adds a really great finish on the wood, and the wax not only protects it, but it gives it a lovely soft touch feel. I used the same finish on the legs, but I tested out applying this with a foam brush. This worked okay, but it applied the finish a little bit too thick, so it needed a lot of buffing off, which is just a bit of a waste of the finish. To attach the tops, I use some small mounting plates. I'm not too concerned about wood movement in these tables, as they're so small that any wood movement will be negligible. And there we go, the final tables. The black bases go really well with the spalting on the tops, and these go perfectly in our bedroom. If you've enjoyed this video, please subscribe to the channel. It really does help it grow, and it allows me to do bigger and better projects moving forward. As always, thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.